Today, we delve into the intriguing story of lost girls and love hotels. Follow a young woman as she falls for a dangerous gangster, unraveling a passionate and turbulent relationship. Witness their intense connection and discover the twists and turns that lie ahead. Buckle up for a captivating journey through love, desire, and self-discovery in the mesmerizing film Lost Girls and Love Hotel. At the beginning of the movie, we see a girl walking through the tunnel. Her name is Margaret, and she is drunk. Someone is following her. When she takes out a cigarette, the man behind her gives her the lighter. She asks him to take her to the hotel. The scene ends here and the story goes to flashback. Margaret tells us that sometimes she thinks that there's no happy ending to some stories. She works in a flight attendant school in Japan. She teaches the girls to pronounce correctly. Last night, she was so drunk and she came to school today in the same dress. One of her students really likes her and compliments her outfit. She came to the school with the same outfit that she wore yesterday in the club, which means she didn't go to her house yet. She went to the washroom to change her dress, but the boss of this place noticed this. She asked her if she was okay. Margaret said yes, I'm all right. Margaret lives alone in a tiny apartment. She goes to the bar every night with her friends. One of her friends' names is Ines, and the other is Liam. Tonight, she was drunk as well. She asked them, "What will happen if I get so drunk?" They told her that if you got so drunk, you'll not be able to walk. When she went to the washroom, she saw a man and had sex with him. After that, she came back to the table and started drinking again. At night, when she and her friend Liam were alone, Liam asked her, "Why don't you date me? You can go out with me." He got so close to her, but Margaret told him that I think of you as my brother. On the road, she saw a gangster. His name was Yakuza. Margaret said that Yakuza was the most handsome guy she ever saw in her life. Yakuza also noticed her. When the signal became green, they went their separate ways. It was too late in the night. All of her friends went to their houses, but she was not going to her home. She went to another bar and got drunk. In that bar, she saw another guy, and the guy also saw her. They both smiled at each other. The guy took her to a hotel. They were about to have sex, but Margaret told him to hit her with a belt. She loved to get hit while having sex, but the guy didn't want to hit her at all. That's why she left the hotel. Margaret didn't go to her house that night either. She went to the school in the dress she wore last night. She was so drunk that she couldn't even walk. Her boss saw her and told her that "I think you're not feeling well today. You should go back to your home." Margaret went to the washroom, and her boss also came after her. She asked her, "Do you know why I gave you the job?" Margaret didn't know. Then she told her that "When I was young, I was like you. I enjoyed my life." But Margaret didn't believe her because now she was totally different. Her boss told her, "I don't have my husband or any child. Everyone knows that my life is terrible. I might have made so many mistakes in my life, but still, I can teach something to these girls." She was trying to inspire Margaret. After that, Margaret went to the library. She was looking at a painting book that was full of nude paintings. Suddenly, Yakuza came there and asked her if she liked the artist. Margaret said yes, and Yakuza also said that he liked the artist too. In the next scene, they were seen at a hotel, just as Margaret wanted. She wanted to have sex with him while her hands and legs would be tied to the bed. Yakuza did the same, and they had sex. Yakuza told her not to think that he was a bad man, but Margaret assured him that she won't. The next day, when she went to her school, her boss asked her if she thought it was all fun. Margaret told her that she actually liked her job. She played the role of a flight attendant, teaching them how a little girl can behave with a terrorist. She played the role of them. When school ended, she saw that Yakuza was waiting for her. He told her not to worry and that they would just go for dinner. He took her to a Japanese restaurant where they had to enter without their shoes on. Margaret's socks were torn apart, but Yakuza didn't want her to feel uncomfortable, so he took her to another restaurant. During their conversation, Margaret told Yakuza that she wants to live alone, away from her family and country. They were talking to each other when suddenly a drunk man fell on Margaret in the restaurant. She felt uncomfortable and went to the washroom. When she came back, she saw that the whole restaurant was quiet. Yakuza, being a gangster, had kicked everyone out of the restaurant. He told Margaret that sometimes people will try to disturb her, and that's why she needs to stay away from them. Afterward, they went to the hotel once again and had sex. Margaret asked him what he liked about her, and Yakuza told her that she was very special and that her needs were not easily fulfilled, so satisfying her was like a challenge to him. Yakuza then asked her what she liked about him, and Margaret told him that he was also like like a challenge to her, and she likes challenges. Yakuza told her about his marriage, and Margaret got upset after hearing this. She left the hotel. In the next scene, we see Margaret telling her friend that one day she will lose her consciousness and be mad. Her friend asks her if this is about Yakuza, stating that there is no difference between love and madness. Margaret tells her that he's going to be married. Her friend also feels a bit upset, and Margaret tells her that life is a ride, and she should enjoy this ride. To turn her mood around, her friend takes her to a bar. Later, Margaret is seen looking at a book, the same one she saw at the library when she met Yakuza. Yakuza gifted her the book, and inside, she finds a hotel card. She goes to that hotel and meets him. They have sex once again. Margaret finds it so interesting that Yakuza is a gangster. She asks him if he has ever cut someone's finger off and sent it as a gift. Yakuza explains that if someone makes a mistake and he wants them to remember it for the rest of their lives, he will cut their fingers off. However, he doesn't want to talk about this anymore and asks Margaret about her family. Margaret's parents are already dead, and she has a brother. She starts hearing so many voices in her head, feeling like she has no one in her life to guide her. She asks Yakuza if he loves his wife. Yakuza tells her that she has to take some responsibility in her life and that she can never spend her life alone. Marriage and society are important, which is why he had to get married. After their conversation, they have sex once again. Yakuza asks Margaret why she plays this game in bed. Margaret tells him that it's something that turns her on. In the next scene, Margaret is seen taking drugs with her friend Liam. Liam's girlfriend comes to them, and they all spend time together. Margaret, however, makes fun of Liam and his girlfriend, feeling a bit jealous. The next day, while Margaret is walking on the road, she finds Yakuza standing outside. He asks her to go somewhere with him, but she tells him that she has to go to school. They agree to go out the next day, but Yakuza insists, and she finally agrees. Some of her students see them together on the train. Yakuza shows Margaret some photos of his childhood during the train ride. Margaret becomes happy about it. Later, Yakuza takes her to a place and they kiss each other. They also visit a pagoda, where there is a sign that promises a new life if she enters. Yakuza tells her that if she comes here, she will have no connection with her past life. After coming out of the pagoda, Yakuza asks Margaret how she's feeling, but she doesn't feel anything special. Yakuza tells her that she will feel it later. Margaret falls asleep on the train, and Yakuza covers her with his jacket before leaving. When Margaret wakes up, she realizes that Yakuza is no longer with her. She feels confused and sits there, crying. Yakuza, who was watching her from his room, eventually comes to her. He tells her to stay away from him, saying that he's not worthy of her. Margaret tells him that maybe she can be his secret. In reality, Margaret only wants to have sex with Yakuza. They hug each other, and Margaret tells him that she loves him. They have sex once again. Yakuza, however, feels guilty about what he did and how he treated Margaret earlier that day. Margaret wants to live a new life, so she decides to leave Japan and go back to America. She takes a job in a bar temporarily, but soon realizes that it's not the right job for her. One night, she gets drunk and cries on the road. Liam's girlfriend sees her and takes her to a restaurant. Margaret shares her feelings of sometimes wanting to be alone. Margaret continues working in the bar, but she is still struggling with her emotions. She sees a poster on the wall about girls being kidnapped in the city. This reminds her of the beginning of the movie, where a man helped her light her cigarette and took her to a hotel. She tells him to tie her to the bed, expressing her unusual desires. Margaret realizes that she likes this kind of hotel. Margaret has a revelation when she sees a sign from the pagoda, and she feels like she's getting a new life. However, she finds herself in a dangerous situation when the man she meets in the hotel is about to kill her. Unexpectedly, Yakuza comes to her rescue and saves her life. Margaret is amazed to see him and asks if he's been following her. Yakuza confesses his love for her, explaining that he has been following her because he is in love with her. Margaret gets a new chance at life and decides to change her lifestyle. She wants to find beauty in everything that happens to her. She leaves for America, and on the flight, she sees her student, who has now become a flight attendant. Margaret feels proud seeing her student and realizes that her job as a flight attendant matters. Margaret reflects on the words of her boss, who had told her that despite the mistakes she has made in her life, she can still teach something to the girls. She is determined to embrace her new life and find beauty in every experience. During the flight, Margaret makes a phone call to Yakuza and tells him that he was right. She has found a new life after encountering the sign at the pagoda. Margaret expresses her gratitude and affection for Yakuza Rosa, knowing that their time together has brought about a transformation in her. The movie ends with Margaret repeating the dialogue she had said at the beginning, but with an added depth and understanding. She acknowledges that life may not always have a happy ending, and it can be messy and unpredictable. However, if one looks closely, beauty can be found in every aspect of life. Margaret has experienced loss and challenges, but she has also found moments of connection, passion, and self-discovery. She has learned to appreciate the journey and find meaning in her experiences.